headset's still connecting. I'm sorry. Hold on.
Oh,
one
gotcha.
second.
No worries.
5, 4, 3. Oh. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oops. Perfect. Much better. Broke up a little bit. Are you on Wi-Fi or are you hardwired?
Wi-Fi.
Are you able to hardwire?
I am not.
Okay, no worries. You sound pretty good. It's just it might break up every now and then, but that's not that big of a deal. All right, Karin, you ready to rock and roll?
Always.
I love it. Let's have a fantastic show. Here we go.
The following program is being brought to you on the Voice America Health and Wellness Channel. For more information about our network and to check our additional show hosts and topics of interest, please visit voiceamericahealth.com.
Like so many others, who you are is largely a result of your past. We have so many positive and not so positive experiences that we start to doubt ourselves and our place in this world. Let the healing process start now. Welcome to Shift Happens with Karin Weary, Ida Sereno Lee, and John Kennedy. When you start to focus on healing from the inside out, you'll learn so much more about your own health, your well-being, and your state of mind. Once you've started on that, the rest gets a little bit easier every day. Now, here is your host, Karin Weary, and this week's co-host.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Shift Happens. I am Karin Weary, and when I'm not on here, I help people take care of their insides with regards to healing from things that have happened in the past. And because those things can really keep us stuck in patterns that do not work for us. And certainly that ripples out into relationships and whatnot. And so when we do this work, we can really start to change the world from within first, because that's how it works. And when we are talking about healing from within, I love to introduce people on this show to introduce other kinds of treatment methods that aren't necessarily completely mainstream. It is becoming more so now, integrative health and such. And so my guest today, I'm really excited to introduce my guest today, Dr. Robyn Calabrese. She is an acupuncture physician, a licensed massage therapist, and a licensed primary care provider in the state of Florida. Robyn received her master's degree in acupuncture and Oriental Medicine after completing an accelerated 4-year academic graduate program at the Florida College of Integrative Medicine. Academic and clinical education included a solid foundation in the theories and practices of traditional Chinese medicine, which is acupuncture and herbal formulas, that was well balanced with education in Western sciences and the Western understanding of the human body. Upon graduation, Robyn continued her education and clinical training at the Chengdu University of Traditional Chinese Medicine in Chengdu, People's Republic of China, where she completed internships in both internal medicine, which was in Chinese Herbal Medicine, Dermatology Department, and Reproductive Women's Health, and in acupuncture at the affiliated hospitals of the university in 2009. Dr. Calabrese is also a licensed massage therapist that specializes in pediatric massage and ashiatsu barefoot massage. She's been practicing massage since 2002, and she uses a natural approach to healthcare to treat a plethora of health concerns, but can also work to prevent ailments as well. And y'all know that I love prevention. She had found a love for acupuncture and Chinese medicine through her mother, who became very ill with MS and fibromyalgia. After years of being treated with Western medicine, her relief was found through holistic Chinese medicine. That is huge. Years later, Robyn struggled with hormonal and infertility issues. Through Chinese food therapy, fertility massage, acupuncture, and herbs, Robyn was able to conceive and safely deliver 2 beautiful children. She treats a wide range of health concerns, but her passion is women's health, infertility, pediatrics, and aesthetics. So welcome, Dr. Robyn.
Thank you so much. I sound pretty amazing when it's on paper. Yeah.
I know, right? You sort of forget all the amazing stuff that you've done in your life, and there it is, all accumulated on a page. It's good to be reminded of, right?
Every once in a while, it's good, especially in this very crazy time, you know?
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and so you actually went to China and did your internship. What?
Yes. And I did the teaching university in Chengdu, and Chengdu, China is in the Sichuan province, so it's in northern China. It was actually such an amazing experience. After, you know, I mean, I know China has kind of its bad rap right now, but it is a very beautiful place to be at. It's a very beautiful culture, and it is a very beautiful medicine, you know, understanding because of its deep rooted, and it's anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 years, and its ancient text, you know, it's can really help guide people on natural ways to heal the body and without. Again, I do work with an integrative practice, so I'm very excited to integrate both, but sometimes we need to be preventative before we have to emergency solve the problem.
Right. Exactly. And that is the whole point, is that there is so much of what Americans, they are dealing with and suffering with that is chronic, that could have been prevented in the first place. And really, their root problems that aren't being addressed with Western medicine.
Correct.
Yes.
And so I said, because definitely when you have like all the root problems, because, you know, people come in, usually that when people come in to see me or anybody in my practice, it's usually last stitch effort. Like, if you can't help me, I'm dying tomorrow, you know, and that's fine. You know, in my father's generation, they didn't go to the doctor unless they were dying. And somehow it just has trickled down to that respect. But even just starting as a fall from when you were a kid could create chronic pain now in your future, and now in your adulthood, that you can't walk in different situations. You know, you may not die tomorrow, but it's going to take, if you took 15 years to get there, you got to think it's going to take probably about 7.5 for you to be completely back to your normal.
Wow. Okay. Because that's the other problem, that we, at least Americans, want it done right now. Give me a pill and then it should be gone in 5 minutes.
Listen, Tylenol is great when it works on a headache, but I said when you deal with the body, you deal with every micro new organism of your body, it's not going to happen that way. You know, think of a huge company. You know, you have your CEO, which is the brain, you know, and then you have your nervous systems, then you have your lymphatic system, then you have your blood system, and then everything has no management. And do you think things get lost along the way? And sometimes it's our, you know, our digestive system, which are like the lowly middle class workers that are constantly working and constantly moving along. And once those get disrupted or they go on strike, all of the other systems throw off. So as long as we keep our digestive system, and then it'll help manage all middle management and help the CEO, which is our brain, not go into anxiety and depression and everything else like that. So as long it'll just keep, you know, so then you don't come in like having 3 days of panic attacks. How do I do that? And the pill, like Xanax, and it's like it only helps temporarily, but you know, what is the root cause of it? You know, what happened to it? You know, is it digestive health? Is it leaky gut? Is it something that you ate? You know, is there inflammation in your system? Is it hormones? You know?
Yeah, and that's really cool, because you and I, we are very complementary, because you take care of that part, and then there's the piece that so many people don't pay attention to is, well, what's the emotional environment like? What are your what's your relationship like? What are your job like? What's your family like? You know, that type of thing. So
And some people don't realize that sometimes it is your children that's causing you stress and anxiety. Even though I am a mother, we get it, you know what I mean? But it's okay to admit that they stress you out, and that doesn't make you a bad mother at all.
no. Yeah. Go into it knowing that they're going to drive you crazy sometimes. As adorable and beautiful and lovable as they are, they also drive you crazy.
Yeah.
It's part of the package. Speaking of which,
Mhm.
that is some of the things that we were going to be talking about, because you are really part of the whole before, during, and after of the whole kiddo package.
And I know these are big questions people really do seem to be having right now. I have a lot of, you know, potential mommies and daddies that were coming that are like, you know what, I think maybe we're going to wait for a little bit. Or, you know, it happens and everybody gets pregnant, but it's, oh my gosh, what do I do now? You know, it's not that, you know, do we do a hospital birth and my husband may not be able to be, or my husband or partner may not be able to be there? Or do we do a home birth and all the other, you know, systematic things that go along with that? all the questions are rising over and over again. And now we have a child, what are all of our next steps that go on with that? And just with all the questions, especially rising up in this time, that are making parents, pre-parents and current parents question. Even moms and dads who, let's say they've had their children, I'm going to call it a miracle baby, that's like the baby after everybody's off to college. It's like, I have to start this all over again. A lot of these, it's even vastly different from those parents that have raised their children and have had their new miracle baby. They're like, I didn't have to deal with half this stuff you guys are dealing with now that I had to deal with my older children.
Wow.
And it's a very interesting, part, let's go on to the parents. Do you, let's say you want to get pregnant, do you decide to go IVF or do you decide to go natural? What are decisions here to make? What is best for me and my partner? What is best for me and my family? And then also after that, how do we deliver? I think every choice is right. You can't sit there and just decide, what am I doing wrong? It's kind of like going to the same discussion. Oh my God, am I going to send my kid to school or not? That's kind of like in everybody's decision right now.
Right.
But, what are the next steps? That I think to really, I'm all for, I did home births for my children, but that was what worked with me. My husband with our first child, he was not on board. Let's just say there was a lot of convincing that had to happen. But again, it was one of these situations that he got to be with me. Now, if me and my husband decide to have another child and that rule is still in place where my partner or my husband could not be in the room with me, I don't know. You know what I mean? I would probably, there's a lot of decisions that are made right then and there. Like, do we circumcise our child? Do we vaccinate our child right away? Do we, are we breastfeeding right away? There's lots of different things. And for an exhausted mommy right after delivering, it's very hard to make all these decisions right away.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And I think a lot of those decisions should at least have been thought of and discussed and clarified before. Of course, then once it happens, then you had to be ready for maybe breastfeeding isn't working for whatever reason and we have to add something else or whatever. But yeah, but shouldn't have to wait.
There's no birth plans and birth ideas and all that stuff. The minute I deal with more moms with postpartum depression because their birth plan was not met. Meaning to the point, it's fine because it's like, they go in, they want to have this birth, but then they had to get a C-section because their blood pressure is dropping, baby blood pressure is dropping, and then you have the violation of, that they were violated because of having surgery. Not that the doctors did anything, everybody was doing it, but it's like that personal, that they feel attacked in a way, and am I a lesser mom because I gave birth this way, and especially dealing with postpartum depression in this time, because families, your mom isn't allowed to come over, or you have chosen that, and different things like that. There's not that help because at least before, I know my mother-in-law basically moved in. I thought she was going to kick me out, those first couple of months. I'm like, I'm still mom, right? But, we don't have that support structure, at least since January. And we are in August, almost September. So we're going 8-9 months. And if the statistics are still true that one baby's born every 8 minutes, or or 8 babies born every one, you get my point. I don't really remember that statistic.
A lot of babies.
There's been a lot of children that have been birthed in this time, and so there's had to be a lot of decisions and a lot of made, and then making sure mom stays healthy in order to to care for the child as well, and helping you with a holistic approach. Is making sure that we have, we can help you with your birth plan, but then we also help you making sure that you can lactate, making sure that we give you herbs to support you as well, and making sure we can hook you up with good-minded pediatricians that help to answer your questions.
Yeah, because one of the things that we know about stress is that stops so many things from happening, because that's the central nervous system that, it goes into fight or flight mode. And now your immune system you can't think, you're focused on all the bad things that are going on in the world and don't see any of the positive things. And so how does that affect, like, I could imagine that would also affect, breastfeeding if you're in that space, and certainly conceiving.
Oh my goodness. So I'm gonna share one story. Is that okay if I share a story?
Perfect.
Okay, so and this is my personal story. So I'm in my birth class, and we I did with a midwife, and we were required to take a birth class, and they kept saying, and you know this stuff, that adrenaline shuts everything down. And I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. Well, what happened was I was sitting there with my husband, and I'm in full-on delivery. All of a sudden, my brain kicks in that what this actually means. You know what I mean? I mean, every woman has this. You're all ready to have a child, and then, oh my God, I have to go home and take care of it. Even though you've had 9 months to plan, what's our next steps going into this? My labor immediately stopped. I get up, I get dressed, and I'm walking out the door. I see my husband. No, this is no joke. I see my husband on the corner of my eye, terrified to death, to even talk to me. And he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Anyway, I walk out. My father sees me, and he sees my husband, and my father turns white. He's just looking down on the ground. Finally, I get closer to the door of the birthing center, and the midwife is just sitting there very nonchalant, and she's like, hey, where are you going? Just not, really trying to, get involved in anything. I said, I'm going to leave. We'll come back in a day or two or something here, whatever, and then during that process, anyways, she had me go sit down. She completely calmed me down. And that's very important during this birth process, to make sure you find people who can be good birthing partners with you and talk you through it, even before you decide to go do that. And she calmed me down. I was back in full labor. So I said, even kind of going on during this process, having positive people that can stand with you. One thing I have heard, though, and I don't know if this is true because I have not, but you can have people on the phone with you while you're in labor. So if you do choose to have a hospital birth during this time, that may be a possibility with you, that you could have your doula with you, you could have your husband with you, you could have somebody with you who could help you kind of guide you through this time.
Okay. Yeah. That's still really super lonely at a time like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that story. That was just amazing. And such a powerful evidence of how powerful our adrenaline is.
Yes. That you can stop labor right away. You can pretty much stop anything right away.
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, it completely, because I had Dr. Bruce Lipton on here, and he was saying how during heart, what do you call it, heart transplants, give the patient a shot of cortisol because it stops the immune system, so you can put the new heart in and it won't reject it right then and there. This is what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is absolutely amazing. Yeah. And I said, especially when you go into this time, talking about immune systems, what is good to be able to keep up immune systems while you're pregnant? What is safe to do? Because people are like, too much vitamin C, too much zinc, too much that. One thing I recommended to all of my pregnant mommies and even my postpartum moms, and postpartum doesn't always mean depression. It just means postpartum, that you've had your child. You're just in that postpartum state. So I just wanted to make that clarified to people. Yeah. Is that, just make sure, one, you're hydrated and get as much sleep as possible. And don't be afraid to eat, even if it's just cucumbers, even if it's, celery sticks here and there. Remember, if mommies go down, there was that old Robitussin commercial, if mommies go down, dad has the iron stain on his back, children have shaved their heads as they're running around. So, we have to keep ourselves strong.
I think we can give Des a little more credit, but that's okay. That's probably an old,
yes, we can.
an old commercial, but yeah. There are fantastic, wonderful dads out there.
Oh, yeah.
We need them. Yes. No. I wasn't saying that at you. It's just so funny how role models are posted out there, which is really a big part of how we
the stereotypes.
You totally. Totally.
It's and it's I want to, give praise to all the single dads out there that are doing this on their own, just as much as they are making these decisions with single moms.
Yeah.
It's not even just the point, all these decisions that have come up as of late, and me being a parent, I'm currently, constantly, I've never had to be more fluid than I've had to be in these 8 months in my life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Before, it was just basically choosing diapers and make sure everybody has their, your vegetable, your fruit, your protein, and your carb. And that was the decisions that had to be made for my children. Now, daily things change.
Yeah. And we are going to roll into some messages, but I do want to let you know, remind you that part 2 of our panel discussion on raising consciousness is coming up this August 27th. So you'll want to definitely go into Eventbrite and look up Consciousness Panel, and you will find us so that you can register, because we're going to talk about a lot about these things. How can we get through this time and be in a much better place. We'll be right back with Dr. Robyn Calabrese.
All clear.
Thank you.
Oh,
All right.
how's
Yes.
it going so far?
Great. So first of all, I forgot to, we didn't get to tell you if you wouldn't mind putting your chat box up because
Oh,
Aaron
I
Hill
have
put,
30 seconds over here.
yeah, that's what he said. So he goes 4, 3, 2, 1, 30 seconds. That's our little commercial countdown. And we are still live on Shift Happens Facebook page. So, hey, yeah, this is some really super great information here because, you know, um, just knowing again that there are other ways, and I think that'll be uh, so when we come back in here, because also giving a story every once in a while that just flavors it some
Mhm.
more, yeah. So what was it that how did you get into, like, specifically maybe acupuncture, or kind of?
So, is it okay if I talk now?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so I said basically, how getting into acupuncture is like, my mother was a pediatric oncologist. And so that was how I was going down those roads. So I was growing up, my mother taught at Washington University. She worked at Children's Hospital. Me and my siblings, we grew up in the hospital setting, daycare was in the hospital, that sort of thing like that. So I was very much Western medicine. Now, my father had polio growing up. And so with him, he was very anti-doctor, which makes it hilarious that him and my mother met. But because it just kind of is what it is. And my father's medicine was always chiropractic. No matter what, if he had a sneeze, I went to the chiropractor. If I threw my back out, I went to the chiropractor, that sort of thing like that. So very, very, very different points of view.
Yeah.
My mother got very sick with fibromyalgia and MS because of who my mother was. Now, this is back late 80s, early 90s type of time. So in that time period, this was also a time where they felt that those diseases really
20 seconds.
Okay. Yeah, they didn't exist, and
they didn't really exist,
Yeah.
and it was more or less of like you're just making it up
yeah,
at this
it's on your
time,
head.
And so
10 seconds.
what it is that when they're 10 seconds, I'm so excited.
Here we
I'm
go.
like, is their ball gonna go down?
Yes.
You are listening to Shift Happens with Karin Weary. Do you have a question or comment about today's program? If so, we'd love to hear from you. Call in to the live show at 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or send an email to karinw@insightscounselingcenter.com. Remember that Karin is spelled Karin. Now, back to Shift Happens.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Shift Happens, where we are talking about having the option of going natural. Now, going natural can mean a lot of different things. We're not talking about hair color here. I have today with me, my guest is Dr. Robyn Calabrese, who is a doctor of acupuncture and Oriental medicine, and specializes in, amongst other things, but in fertility, pregnancy, and then right after the postpartum, there, the first year of the child's life, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And so I said, we can go into the infertility part of it. And basically, we had this the commercial break about it, how to stop, and how our, if we're so stressed out on our next steps, everything shuts down. Our immune system shut down, reproductive system shut down, periods, hormones are shut down. It truly is, people make a joke of it, but it truly is the number one killer, but everything. So I'm hearing a lot of feedback. Sorry.
Yeah, it's hard for me to hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know if you need to get closer or how.
Oh, there's better. Okay. Yay.
Yes,
Okay.
there we go. So basically, let me just real quick, basically our nervous, our stress hormones will shut everything down. Our hormones, childbirth, our immune system, everything. So yes, so let's go into that.
And so I said, basically, what are some natural approaches to really kind of make sure that doesn't happen? Because we are definitely dealing in a time where one thing I have enjoyed, there's not a lot of things that people have really been happy about as of late. But there's some certain things that I've really enjoyed about this time period, especially since COVID has kind of like been our number one focus, is people are truly taking a step back and really trying to take care of themselves. You know, I've worked over the years with many high profile businessmen and women, and I always ask, why not have your employees, you know, do like a 4-1 or a 3-2, and they're like, no, I have to watch them, you know, that micromanaging type, you know. And then during this time, what I have seen is as businesses have had to transfer into a more home-based business because people, because of social distancing, can't be at home, that stress has gone down. Productivity has literally gone through the roof in some instances from a lot of people. So we have actually almost flipped to the side of being more healthy, even though we are at a time where we're being told that there's a lot of unhealthy things happening.
Yeah.
So, but with people really, you know, and then on top of it, people are eating out less, you know, not to the point of being bad to the restaurants, but, you know, less salt in their foods. People are like Pinteresting it up, you know, with recipes, all this other stuff like that. And just the recipes that I get from my patients right now that are just like, these are all the things that I've tried this week. Even though some people are like, well, they've gained the COVID-19, you know, but it's like, well, but it's like people have been losing weight during this time, not necessarily in pounds, but in just like with inflammation and stress. People have been reconnecting with their families, and this goes perfect into, you know, even just to the home structure. A lot of people are like, you know, even including myself, you know, I'm a working mom, you know, and different things, but I have gotten to see things out of my children, out of their personalities that I probably wouldn't have gotten to see. I know that they're there, but I get to see these things. So how does this affect our stress? How does this affect our immune system? How does this reflect, you know, the first year of parenting, you know, and everything like that? You know, it has seemed that even though there's so much crazy, there always is that open window or that light at the end of the tunnel that has really been helping to, you know, that you have to look for the positives, you know, even if it's just the little things, you know, like, hey, I can work in my PJs today, you know what I mean? Or, you know, and I can go outside and I can enjoy, or I can sit there. And I know a lot of parents are going crazy right now with this online learning, you know, and different things like that. And so immune systems may go down again and again, people, you know, because there's a lot of issues about, you know, having older children and then having new children at home, you know, babies at home, you know, who gets the attention. And then there's that constant tug and pull and everything that kind of happens. So, you know, this goes into the next thing. It's like, you know, with depression, anxiety, and adrenaline and immunity, about how all that suppresses and how that affects the family structure. Because again, now you can also have one parent who's at home and one parent who is still working. You know, how does that affect, and what decisions are being made for you and your family? And again, for some of my parents, for some of my family's mommies and daddies that only have one child who are thinking about having a second child, are like, I don't know if I could have a second child at this point because of this, you know, this split and all these decisions and all this stress that they're under, because, you know, women are missing cycles, you know, and different things like that. So what are their next? Because that's other things that adrenaline can do, is adrenaline can shut all that down.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Which is why, you know, your mental health is one of the really top things that is really important to get under control, along with, you know, eating, exercising, that kind of stuff there. It could just prevent and reverse so many different things right there. And so one of the things, my son, he's 15 now, so I'm pretty much done with the whole vaccination thing, but that was something that all the way through was such a big stress for me, as like every time I went, and I couldn't decide one way or the other which way to go, and all that, you know. And so what are some things that, because you know, you don't provide vaccinations, but there are a lot
No,
of
not,
parents who have
yeah,
questions, right?
we're not in our practice. We don't, not myself, because that is not within my scope of practice. But these are constant questions that are asked. And so we have a group of people, you know, pediatricians, primary care physicians, you know, general PTs as well, who can really help guide you on these decision makings. Because they said it's not, I mean, you can read all the research, you can do all this stuff like that. Let's say it is number one topic right now, you know, our vaccine. Also, finding a practitioner or finding a team of people who you can have honest conversations with. Because sometimes it's hard to have conversations with your spouse or your family about it, because they have their own viewpoints and judgments and everything like that. And then you hear all the good stuff, and then you hear all the bad stuff, and like, oh my God, what do I do next?
Yeah.
You know, so creating a team of just professionals that will speak with you. You know, again, I had some issues in the beginning, you know, with pediatricians who I felt were not communicating with me, you know, on what was best for me and my family, you know, and just, you know, and not saying either way, you know, I mean, you know, it is what it is, what works for you, and just finding people who will talk to you. And that is something that we like to offer here at Family Healthcare as a practice where I am, is that we help guide on what works for you. We have a group of people of practitioners who talk with you and help to give you more direction, I guess would be the best way to describe it.
Yeah, yeah, because it's really easy if you have a pediatrician and you know you just go to the pediatrician and do your thing
Yeah.
and immediately they'll be on one side, you know, mostly probably for vaccine and whatnot, and but not even discuss the other side of
Yeah.
what is best for you. And that's what I really like about you. And so what would you say are some ways to find a group, a team of practitioners, professionals that
Well,
will
one, I
have
mean,
those conversations?
you are the parent. I mean, sometimes it's hard because what it goes is that, you know, it kind of comes down to insurance company. You know, it's like, okay, so the minute you do and you have it, so which pediatrician is covered under my insurance? You know, and so then having that, so that's always kind of the hard part, and then finding someone you actually like. You know, but just, you know, come prepared with questions. And then sometimes I know people, they do take it to heart, like, what do you mean you're, you know, you're not, this is bad, you know, and they put you in a box. And you're just some like hippie weird mom. I mean, I'm a hippie weird mom, but you know, just kind of going down that road. But no, you're just honestly just looking for it. I'm interviewing. When you talk to them, you know, just like you would interview someone who comes to your house to babysit your kids when you're not there. Just like you interview the guy who's going to cut your lawn. You know what I mean? Or just like you would interview anybody who's coming into your house to look at your children. Interview your pediatrician. You know, my patients, when they come in here, when we have like our initial, what you call when they have your first visit with people, you know, you're interviewing one another. You know, sometimes I go to patients, I'm not the correct fit for you, so I'm going to refer you out, and vice versa. I mean, that is the best way to have communication with your doctors, to be able to make sure that you are getting what you need, and answers that you need. And also, like, talking before you get pregnant, is also talking with your OB as well.
Yeah, yeah. And so we didn't really get in a whole lot into the topic of, you know, getting pregnant because we were so excited
That's
we
usually
just
the fun
dive
part.
right in. Yeah. So because you work with the males and the females.
Yes. And so I said, you know, some people forget that it does take two to have a baby. You know what I mean? I mean,
Last time I checked.
I wasn't there, you know, so, you know, it was all my husband. But it is true. You know, sometimes we just, you know, it's very interesting. As girls, you know, we start dealing with this anywhere between the ages of 12 and 14 when we first start our period. You know, it's already in our mind, okay, now we can have children. You know, this is kind of it. With men, they don't deal with it until either it happens accidentally or it's been so long, why don't I have 1,400 children at this point, you know? And then it's usually at this point. So it's like, you know, understanding, oops, there we go, moving the camera. And then it kind of goes into just understanding male health. You know, I personally I love working with my mommies, but I really like working with my daddies because they can be easy fixes, you know, because the men produce sperm up until they're 80, you know, and sometimes it's very simple as just doing, you know, detox. Now, if there's been multiple injuries, you know, outside of, you know, multiple groin kicks, you know, that sort of thing like that, or job related stuff, those might be where you really need to speak with urologist and a reproductive endocrinologist and those things like that. But sometimes it could be as simple as liver detox, you know, gut detox. And usually in 3 months, we can have everything cleared out. And then the motility and the mobility of the sperm count comes back and you can naturally have a child. Or if you're choosing the route of IVF, you can actually, you know, they have more valid sperm to go with. You know, women, what can I say? We're all complicated, you know, in every sense of that word, you know, but it's so good on what Chinese medicine does to help you get pregnant. You know, it's like we work with you from such a young age, and it's not even, you know, understanding your cycle. I mean, I still have patients that are in their 40s and 50s who are like, I've never tracked my cycle in my life. And I'm like, what? You know, Okay. And different things like that. And I find it to be very important. And there's 1,001 apps that you can have on your phone that tracks it. It's not like you have to keep a calendar anymore. And it's not even about, but it's understanding where your hormone levels are, hormone levels, skin issues, acne is huge, and just kind of understanding your cycle and your body can help guide you into the future of maybe not even necessarily having a child, but is there thyroid problems going on? Are you having PCOS and ovarian symptoms, that you might not know until, and this could all start at a young age before you even start to have a child.
Yeah.
So tracking your cycle and understanding, and in Chinese medicine, we deal with a 4-phase cycle. You have phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. And phase 1 is when you actually bleed. Phase 2, phase 3 is your ovulation phase, and phase 4 is PMS. And then it kind of just continues cycling that way. And everybody has different days. We base it off a 28-day cycle, but then if you come in and you say you have a 35-day cycle, then everything is readjusted. I have patients who have 45-day cycles. I have patients who have 20-day cycles, and then everything is just readjusted, and we help guide you on what your next steps are, and it'll help keep you in balance, but not only knowing yourself. Now, the cool part is that, women know that we cycle. We cycle every month, we bleed. But what people don't realize is men also cycle as well. It could be as simple as, you have lifetime cycles. They do have monthly cycles. There are ancient books within Chinese medicine that facial hair on a man's face is just like the uterine lining of the woman's uterus. And so as they shave, they are shedding, or how thick that is truly how fertile they really are. And so you can see and you can tell sometimes with the men, and that's not always the case, but it's just a very nice visual representation. Sometimes with I have patients who come in who have these beautiful beards or have beautiful, and it also goes by race as well, because, some men just instantly they shave and 2 seconds later they have that 5 o'clock shadow. And then some men, it takes years to grow, one hair, But I said that doesn't go into the point of fertility. It just goes into also the point of also their gynecological health. Excuse me.
Yeah, yeah. That is so interesting. I love learning about men cycling.
They do cycle, and I said it's like and that is something that is less talked about. Whether or not, it seems to be all over the place about women, but the way men cycle, they do a monthly cycle. They just don't bleed. And we can even put them on a 4-phase cycle, and you can kind of see the differences, especially if they've been married for a while, and different things like that. You can kind of see everybody matches up. You know what I mean? It's just, it is what it is, but I said, you can kind of see definitely how things change. And I said, as a man cycles, you can start to see the change in their facial hair as well.
So when you say that when they've been married for a while, does
They
the
sync
male
up.
and the female,
Yeah.
they sync up? That is amazing.
And I said, and they have men and women that we all have lifetime phases, meaning that we have pubescence, we have, all that stuff like that. And then, where we have menopause, they have atropause, and those sort of things like that. And that's how we do it. So those are our lifetime cycles that we go through. But, truly kind of understanding the male cycle. And it also even just goes to as male cycle as it produces sperm. And also, understanding, their testicular health is just understanding what a woman's ovarian health is, and just making sure that what I tell people all the time is we all have the same parts. Men have outies, we have innies, and it just, basically comes down to that. And I said, as long as you kind of understand those principles, you can really help your partner, understand. A lot more men have prostate health, which it can be a huge problem going into the future. And I'm finding more and more men in their 30s are having prostate health already, which is alarming.
Yeah, yeah. This is so interesting, Dr. Robyn. So I want to delve a little bit more into that when we come back after this couple of messages. And I just remind you all of the second of our follow-up panel discussion to the New Consciousness Project. You can go ahead and register for that. That's coming up August 27th, and we are going to be talking about how do we manage this world that we're living in right now and get out on the other side in a much better place. All right, so we'll have you right back after these couple messages.
All clear.
Thank you.
Oh, I didn't get my little countdown. I thought I was going to get a countdown.
Oh, it was there.
Oh, I
You
sent
just
it
didn't see
privately. My bad.
Oh, I
Sorry.
see. Ah, and
You must,
here I thought
you must have a VIP pass.
I did.
Yeah, I don't know. Zoom set it up different this time. Maybe I need to cancel them all and do them all over again.
It's strange. At the very beginning, it started sending to Robin separately from you, Karen, and I realized that, and then I sent it again.
I don't know. I've been using Zoom for 2 years now, and
Yeah, never
now
seen
all of a
it do
sudden
that
it's
before.
acting weird. Yeah,
I
telling
just
you.
think it's because so many people's on it. Schools are streaming at this. I just think I don't think it knows what to do. Much like all of us at this point,
I know, right? Yeah. So yeah, you were telling a story about your mother, and she got
Oh,
MS and fibromyalgia, and back then that was not a thing according to Western medicine.
yeah, it was not a thing. It was just kind of because they didn't really have any ways to really quantify it,
Right.
and different things like that. So my mother was on I guess so many pills, plethora, blah, blah, I couldn't say the word, plethora of pills. And I remember my younger sister one time, she had gotten really scared because she was scared that my mom, even though my mom was extremely, that she was going to start mixing up her pills. Then that's how many pills, sometimes you take, that she would start putting it together. And if you notice, when you deal with chronic disease and when you deal with autoimmune stuff, it sometimes falls on the children as they're watching the parents decline. You know what I mean? And it's like the fear that kind of sets in on
20 seconds.
But I was like, oh, like the teacher yelled at me. But
10 seconds.
kind of going down that road. And I remember with my mom, she goes, with a heavy heart, I'm going to go see an acupuncturist.
All right, here we go.
We'll talk about that in a minute.
You are listening to Shift Happens with Karen Weary. Do you have a question or comment about today's program? If so, we'd love to hear from you. Call in to the live show at 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or send an email to KarenW@InsightsCounselingCenter.com. Remember that Karen is spelled Karin. Now, back to Shift Happens.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Shift Happens. I am Karen Weary, and we would love to get your comments and questions and whatever else you have. Go ahead and, in addition to my email, you can also go to us on Shift Happens on Facebook page, and go ahead, and then you can even watch us if you're listening, so you can see what we look like.
I showered today, so this is a good thing. This is a good day.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank goodness. Let's celebrate that. Woo! I, in fact, did not, because my water got turned off because there was a break in the pipeline. I'm like, I was just getting ready to hop in after my workout and eating breakfast. I'm like, no, this is not happening. No. So we had the very clean Dr. Robyn Calabrese.
Shift happens.
Yes, it does. And we go with it. That's what this show is all about. Yes, and my amazing, wonderful guest today, Dr. Robyn Calabrese, who is a acupuncturist and doctor of Oriental Medicine. We are talking all about the males and the females and the getting pregnant and the pregnancy and all the stuff. And I just learned that men have a cycle too, y'all. So now you can't just point your fingers at us because you have one too. So, and they can even sync up just like women living together. Will sync up. And so Dr. Robyn just educated us on that too. So really, other than the facial hair, does the male's hormone cycle, are there other ways that you see it, or things that they need to do in order to take care of that piece of them?
And I said, this goes into like really like into the Chinese food therapy, understanding, the food that you're actually putting in your body. Foods have testosterone and foods have estrogen base. Like this is an example, hops is estrogen based. And that's why you see people men who are beer drinkers look like they have bigger pecs, and they look like as if they are pregnant, because they are dumping estrogen into their system. So just as an example, off the top of my head, is like right now soy is an estrogen based food as well. That's why sometimes for women, depending on what phase you are in your life, that's why those products are not very, those food types are not very good for you, because they can counteract, as your estrogen's declining and different things like that. So understanding your food, it is basic. Food is medicine, and I know that I've even fought with my father. It's like, I know what organic is. I grew up on a farm, and you guys paying, $14 for a cucumber, it's not organic, and I said, and I understand. And I said, but, understanding the time periods and different things like that, and taking pride in what you eat, every now and then, don't get me wrong, you want a burger and you want this. That's not what anybody's saying, but just understanding where your food comes from. There's a couple of diets, because in our practice here, we do treat a lot of cancer, and we do treat a lot of hormone issues and things like that. And so one of the diets that we really go after is the RAVE diet, RAVE, and that kind of really, if you can kind of look at that, and it really kind of breaks things down on, estrogen-based foods and testosterone-based foods, because on how they feed different types of diseases within your system. And diseases could be at any different stage in your life, because you are truly feeding, you are what you eat. If you eat burgers and fries all the time, that's what you're going to be, as a burger and fry. You're going to be greasy, you're going to be grumpy, you're going to be this, you're going to be that. But incorporating, different types. Now, again, I am totally not against. I have a patient right now, very interesting, who has severe eczema, and has changed his diet to where for 30 days he did the carnivore diet. I don't know enough about it to guide him through. He did it on his own, but it's very interesting on how all that fat from there moistened his skin to really cure up the eczema. But really, truly understanding, but going back to your question, truly understanding, what you're eating and how to promote good testosterone and how to promote good estrogen within your system, be a male or female, is truly what you eat. And there's there's a really good book. It's called Healing with Whole Foods. That book, within a Chinese medicine standpoint, really breaks down how food is supposed to be done, and like that layering effect, because we have, our insider system is just like a compost pile, and how we layer everything in there is how things are absorbed, and it's like, and so if you're putting good food in, you're going to be absorbing all the good stuff. But if you're not putting so much good food in, then you can have reactions to hormone levels. It can have reactions on mood and adrenaline and cortisol and sleep and fertility and everything that goes along with it. I have tons of moms that come in, especially in their first year. They're like, I don't know what to do with the kids, but yet the kids are eating sugar all the time. You know what I mean? And this goes into, and sometimes it's not always bad sugar, but it still is sugar. And it's like, why is my kid so snotty? It's because the kid is not receiving the stuff that they need. And believe me, I know there are picky eaters out there. You know what I mean? I understand the ones that will only eat yellow, French fry, McNugget, and, a squash maybe, but
somebody introduced that to them.
This is true. You know what I mean? This is true. Yes. But, just truly knowing what you put in your mouth. And these are discussions that we have, and it's not always about a diet. It's not always like, I have to do the next new diet that's coming out in order to either look good, to do this sort of thing like that, but just making that conscious effort to eat whole foods. If you're going to eat, to get all the nutrition that you need.
What would you, super quick, say is like foods that you recommend for somebody with eczema, since you just brought that up?
Okay. In Chinese medicine, this is how we view it. So in Chinese medicine, the skin is the largest organ on the body, and the skin is controlled by the lungs. The color of lungs is white, and I'll explain that in a minute. But so we go on with white foods. Just like there are yellow foods, just like there are black foods, just like there are green foods, and those are for different cycles. And your lung and large intestine are paired organs. So if you're not eliminating properly, then all those toxins are left in your body. And so now they are pushing out to your skin. This could also have issues with fertility as well, because I said if you are not eliminating property, there's toxicity in your body, and an egg may not implant because of that. And as we start to eliminate that stuff, but there are many different, and what I mean by white foods is I don't necessarily always mean, white cauliflower and white onion. There's a plethora of stuff, and I apologize off the top of my head. I usually have a list that I have prepared, but just an example, and this is also like eating right for the seasons. We are in the season, I believe we are going into Indian summer, which is stomach and spleen, which is yellow foods. Okay. So anything yellow. And then, so this is the time where our stomach and spleen, which is our digestive system, is harmonized, that is strongest. It is where you will notice that if people have, issues with micronutrients, and they have absorption issues, you're going to really start to notice that now.
And how does that show up?
How does that show up? That usually it is a fatigue state. Usually, and you can also tell, like, if this goes back into a fertility state, because that person, or even if you're coming in with low sperm count, or if you're even coming in with gynecological issues, what this could show up is that you are not getting enough nutrients in your body. So there's also chronic fatigue that is happening, but there's not enough nutrients in your body to feed the other organs. Because like we talked about before, the brain's a CEO, you have all the mental management. And if your basic needs inside your system are not being met, things aren't going to work the way they're supposed to. Yeah. It's like, you can't think of that all of a sudden, if you haven't run in 5 years, you're going to go run a marathon. You know what I mean? You have to train. It's just like, you have to feed your body with what it is in order to have, a good, healthy, gynecological system in both male and female in order to have a child.
Yeah. And that's where I want to reiterate what you said in the first section here, that if it took 14 years for you to develop something, then it's going to take about 7.5 years to really even it out and correct it.
And to correct it. And then in explaining that to people, it's not that you won't see change. You will see change. Some people have like these miraculous things where they see change in the first few visits. And it's not saying that you have, when you see somebody in the holistic realm, that you have to see them constantly for 7.5 years. That's not it at all. Because during this process, you're going to start to feel better. So you, as the patient, will start making choices for yourself, whether it be exercise, whether it be meditation, whether it be mental health, whether it be like, maybe I should deal with my bad relationship with my parents, you know what I mean? And seeing mental health people, sometimes it's literally what I like to call the Shrek mantra is peeling the onion back. You know what I mean? And sometimes you come in for back pain, or you come in infertility, but you are dealing with some type of an emotional scar, if you will, that happened. It could be a death from an early age. It could be someone, mental and emotional abuse, and it doesn't always have to be, when I say the word abuse, it doesn't always have to be as graphic as that word says. Sometimes it's just words that people use that, cut you deeply. Oh, yeah. And just kind of really understanding where that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. And and that's the part that I find also, it's kind of like getting started on the health journey. You have to start to build momentum, and then once that happens, it's like, and
then the clarity kicks in.
Yes. Yeah. And the foods, you can tell the difference in the food. The things that were healthy that you thought was just yucky before is like, oh no, this tastes really good. My body craves it. And
exactly.
Right?
Like, it is so eye-opening. And when it usually talks about that it takes half the time, like you said, like the 7 years, like it goes to that point where that's when things, you know what I mean? It's just like, because, think of it this way. You had the most awesomest body when you were a senior in high school or in college. It looked amazing. But then, life happens, and then it takes so much longer to get back to that point, to do it. But then once you get it, it sticks forever.
Yeah. Yeah. And because it feels so good to be in that space, because you can move, you have muscles, you can do things, you're functional. And why would you want to let that go? That's just crazy.
Yeah, true. Most of the person.
Yes.
Moving.
That's right. That's right. All right, Dr. Calabrese. Oh my gosh, this has just been so fascinating. And to me, the real gold piece was that men have cycles too, y'all. So
yes,
I love it.
And if you want more information about it, email Karen and we'll be able to get some more information for you on that. And I can help describe it within a Chinese medicine model so that you understand you know, that there's a lot to do not only with female reproductive, but male reproductive just as important. You know, just
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And I will also on the Shift Happens Facebook page post how can you contact Dr. Robyn Calabrese. And yes, because you're at the whole, remind me, I didn't
Whole
write it
family
down.
healthcare. Yeah. No, there's
Whole
no word.
family
We're whole
healthcare
family health. Yeah.
in Lake Mary, right?
No, well, there's one in Lake Mary and then there's one at Winter Park.
Awesome. In Florida,
Yeah.
if you are
In
not in
Florida,
the
yes.
US. We're all over the place. Anyway, so we will encourage you to share this, please, with everybody that you know, because this is information that everybody needs to know, especially if you know somebody who's in that reproductive age and they're looking to decide one way or another. There are options, there are ways to go about this naturally. So implement, listen, share, and
But even if you're a mom and you don't want to do birth control with your daughter and she's having a lot of issues, there's a lot of things that you can do naturally to make it work. So yeah.
there you go. Because we want you to be your best because you have unique talents that we need in the world. So go out there and shine your beautiful inner light.
Thank you.
And we're clear. Great show, ladies.
All right. Thank you.
All
Yeah,
right,
so
Karen, you know, I hate to be short with you, but I got to bounce out of here in my next show. You lovely ladies have a fantastic week.
I know how you are, Erin. You take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. So, Robyn, while we're still live on Facebook,
Yeah.
if you want to share how else we can get a hold of you, I will post it in writing.
Sure.
Let me click on. Yes.
No, so the practice that I work is wholefamilyhealthcare.com. And you can go down there and you can learn more about the practice and the other amazing integrative practitioners that I work with. I believe you had Karen Kelly on your show before.
Yes.
And I also work with Dr. D'Antonio, Dr. Adamson, Dr. Mueller, and Dr. Logan. And all these professionals are just amazing. If you want to find me on social media, on Instagram, I'm Your Barefoot Doctor, because, you know, I love to, everything that you do is about your feet. You got to constantly keep grounded in order to keep healthy, you know, mentally, emotional, and physically.
Is doctor spelled out or DR?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, doctor spelled out.
All right.
YOUR period barefoot period doctor.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Yay. And is that Instagram or where is that?
That's Instagram.
Instagram. Cool. Yeah. All right. Wonderful. All right. I'm going to Facebook. See y'all later.
Thank you guys so much. This has been fun. And Karen, you're just amazing. What can I say?
Oh, thank you. You are too. So let me go ahead and my button isn't working. Come on, guys.